to our new series, Living Life, with real people and real stories. This series is a window into the human experience. It's about where we've been more recently, where we are today, but also, and most importantly, where we're going. This is an opportunity for us all to step back, to reassess and redefine how well-being shows up in our lives each and every day. So I hope that you can sit back, you can listen, learn, and connect.
Where do you think we should start?
Like from when the camera stopped rolling, maybe.
When the camera stopped rolling, okay.
Yeah.
Because you went on a journey that, Year to Save My Life was not an easy, first of all, the production was one part of it, but then your individual journey, having to show up every day, work with a trainer, work with me,
that was
work with production. Working with me was the hardest.
Yeah.
A lot to deal with. Big diva.
Yeah. No, but it was a big 9 months of weird, I suppose, surrealness, wasn't it? It's not reality in a way, is it?
And it moved quick. You did an Olympic distance triathlon. Whenever I got feedback from your show, it was a lot of women could see themselves as you. They found you to be very inspirational. How does that feel for you?
Yeah, I found that hard. That was what I found probably hard to understand, because I was just I don't understand why. Well, I suppose I could understand why people saw it, but I think that's when it was hard, when my weight started coming back on.
Yeah.
That people were still saying I was inspirational. And I was kind of but look at me, how can you find me inspirational? That's the bit I've really struggled with, and still do really, is the way I feel about me hasn't changed.
Right.
So I still don't like me, which I want to, but I don't.
Here right now, today.
Still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me cry.
I'm not, I'm just letting you.
I know. But that's the thing I don't want to feel anymore.
Yeah.
Because I know I shouldn't. But I just don't know how to.
Yeah.
And I think now that I'm a mum, even more I don't want to, because I don't want Emily to ever feel like I do. So I kind of need to sort me out so that she doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's really goes back to how you measure success for yourself too, because this is going back to the first time we talked about your journey on the show.
Yeah.
Which was, the starting point was getting you to look into a mirror and tell yourself, I love you, right? Be able to look in the mirror and say, I see you, I hear you, I love you. And that was a tough exercise for you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Tell me what you think when you see you.
I just feel like a fat blob.
You're not happy with what you see?
No.
You said, I hate myself.
Yeah.
I think this is a time where you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love myself. I realize that I've done things that may not be good for me. Say that.
Well, I love myself.
Yeah.
And I realize I've done things that might not be good for me.
But I'm here and I'm gonna make some changes.
But I'm here, I'm gonna make some changes.
Yeah.
I think the journey that we were really on was learning how to love yourself, but I think even more importantly, seeing those little things that you do for yourself each and every day that contribute to a different form of success. Because since that show, a lot's happened. You've succeeded in so many ways.
I know.
Tell me the three biggest things, biggest transformations that have happened in your life since the show.
Since the show. So I've had a baby.
Yeah.
I suppose I've quit my job as in my pharma world of life that
Which
I was
you
doing.
had done for how long?
17 years.
17 years.
Yeah. And I'm now feel like I'm doing my calling. Like I'm doing what I should be doing.
What do you do in a nutshell?
I'm an obesity advocate, I suppose a patient leader, I get called, someone kind of leading the way regarding obesity in the UK, I guess. Trying to change the narrative, change the way people think about it, trying to change policy, just trying to change the world that I live in and other people living with obesity live in.
Yeah, I mean, that's success, I would say. And that's all because you decided to show up, right?
Yeah.
And go on that journey and then continue your journey.
Yeah.
I don't see, that's the biggest struggle I think for people is I don't see myself the way that I think I should look, I don't feel myself. And I'm not feeling the impact of the behaviors that I'm engaging in. For instance, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to go all in on this obesity support. Or, you know what, I'm going to be a mom, and you know what, I'm going to be a single mom. Like, those are powerful decisions that you've made for yourself.
I know.
And you smile when you say that.
Yeah,
right?
Because I am proud of that, but I feel like that's all become because of me and my passion and my not wanting to give up. Like so after the show, and I still continue to train hard. I did the Jersey Triathlon again. I kept doing 10Ks. I was training with a personal trainer all the time. You know, I kept that going because I enjoyed it. It was, you know, you kind of what I feel I took away from the show is the fact that I knew what I was then capable of, and you gave me that kind of. I liked exercise, which I never thought I would ever say, and I knew that I was an athlete because. You know, the stuff I was doing, other people are like, I could never do that. So you gave me that, and that was a real big driver for me. But then I continued doing all of that stuff that we'd learned and done, and my weight was coming back on. And I was like, that is when I took a massive nosedive with regards to like my mental health, because I was like, what is happening to me? Why am I a failure? Like, why, you know, what is going wrong? Like, I'm doing everything I should be doing. I'm eating less, I'm moving more, but my weight is coming back on. Like, what's going on? And that's when I started going, there's more to this. Like, this is not just a case of me not eating the right things and training hard enough. And I just felt out of control a little bit because I was like, what? I can't control me. And so that's when I started exploring the data and looking at the clinical trials around obesity and it was actually a guy in the States called Dr. Kevin Hall who brought out a study around the Biggest Loser contestants.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a big game changer in my thinking.
Yeah.
Because he talked about the set point theory and the metabolic adaptation and all that stuff that happens in my body. And I was like, so actually this isn't my fault? And for me, like, learning that this wasn't my fault was like the biggest light bulb moment I've ever had.
Yeah, freedom in a lot of ways, right? And I think things have changed so much since the show. We're talking about 2011.
12. Yeah.
And, you know, we were still hung up on, it was kind of a hybrid of eat less, move more. And now it's purely looking at basal metabolic rate and sustaining your BMR, not ditching the muscle in the process of ditching the fat.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always compute to, you know, weight on a scale. And so the game's changed completely, and thank God, right? Because I think now we don't have to say, oh, success lives on this scale, or, you know, me looking like this person on this Instagram feed, or it's more like, and this is the real freedom. It's more about how you feel, and you know that.
Yeah.
Like, how do I feel in my own skin? How do I feel now that I did the Jersey Triathlon? How do I feel that I woke up and had porridge instead of not eating breakfast? Just joking. You know, and I think that is the measure of success. You know, some of us aren't meant to be super thin, and that is a reality.
I know.
Some of us are not meant to be super thin, and that's okay.
I feel like I've achieved everything I've really wanted to, apart from the way I feel about me.
Because that's you. It's, you know, like the problem's produced from the problem, right?
Yeah.
Let's dig into Sarah's 24-hour day. Okay, really quickly. What does Sarah's morning look like? We know she doesn't eat breakfast.
I do most days.
Okay.
But a lot of the time it's Emily wakes up.
Yeah.
So I wake up, she wakes up, I get Emily, change her nappy, get her dressed, take her for breakfast. So my morning focuses around her, really. So I focus on her, making sure she's eaten right, and got everything she needs. Then kind of take her to nursery, and then I'm normally come back, and then it's meetings all day for me. Then go and pick her up from nursery again, and then it's looking after her, give her a tea, get her to bed. And then it's like, once she's in bed, that's when I kind of go and have like Sarah time, I guess. But in that time, I'm then normally tidying the house because it's like a bomb has exploded.
Yeah.
And then eating myself and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty, full on. And I suppose I focus on her a lot.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, you know, where do you start? And if you look at I always say mind the mornings, right? Look at the first 15 minutes of the day. If they don't start with you, then you're starting wrong.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be big, right? Like, that's the relationship. The relationship that needs to be developed is the one that you're not looking at, and it's the one with yourself. And if you aren't spending time with yourself, it's like not spending time with your child. There's not going to be a good relationship there, right? What does it look like if you give yourself 15 minutes in the morning? Like, what would that look like for you?
To do what, though?
Exactly. You get to decide.
Yeah. I don't know.
What does solitude look like? What does reading a book or writing something down look like for you?
Yeah, I don't read because I feel like I don't have time. Like.
So maybe it's like you start the day and you just take a few deep breaths, and you create a mantra for yourself.
Yeah.
I love myself. I deserve this day. I deserve to feel good. It might not mean anything to you right now, but that time you give to yourself, where you think about yourself, and you have that inner dialogue, that's important. I wanted to talk a little bit more about your work, because I think it's important work, and also, you know, where we're at in the world of obesity, from your perspective.
What I do and why I do it is because I want to change, basically the big overarching thing is I want to change the narrative around obesity. I want people to stop saying it's just eat less, move more, and understand that actually genetics plays such a huge part of it. So like up to 70% of why someone is with obesity can be down to genetics. Like, and that's massive. You can't change your genetic makeup. Yes, you can work with it and you can then work ways, you know, how to manage it, but you can't change it. And it's about people understanding, you know, those kind of things, which for me is really important. And understanding things like the environment you live in has such a big impact. The
Class structure, all of it. Yeah,
equality. You know, social inequalities plays such a huge part in it. It's not just about food and exercise, and that's all we talk about when we talk about obesity: is food and exercise. I know I'm going to live with obesity for the rest of my life. So not necessarily going to be this size for the rest of my life, but I will have to manage myself for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I know that now. I used to go to the gym to lose weight. That was the only reason I went.
Yeah.
But now I go to be fit and healthy and stronger. And just things like that has just had a massive impact on me, just reframing that.
Yeah.
People can be healthier but live in bigger bodies. You know, I'm not to the extreme of this whole, like, you can be, you know, all sorts of sizes. There is a limit of, there are links to comorbidities, and and I want people to understand that, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be unhealthy or live a horrible life, or people can live great lives in bigger bodies.
Yeah. It's understanding that this is equally a mental health issue.
Yeah.
And being willing to look in the areas that you might not want to look. And, you know, make peace with certain things. Yeah. And I think that's the struggle. Let me ask you this. When you look at, for instance, Alcoholics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, there's a fellowship wrapped around it. Yeah. So you have community. There is a program or a formula that they use by way of steps. But the biggest piece around it is this spiritual element too. Right? Like believing in something greater than yourself. Yeah. But do you see the solution to be a spiritual and a mental and emotional solution?
I think that will play like a real core part of it. But I do also think that there is a place for things like pharmaceutical intervention. My background is chemistry, science. Like, I know, you know, for me, the physiological makeup of the body is like really fascinating. Yeah. And I think, you know, when you know that someone lives with obesity and they've got excess adipose tissue, you know, your body's living in an inflamed state. Yeah. You know, there's all the insulin sensitivity, all this kind of stuff. It's not functioning the same as like your body, for instance. You know, it's just not. You're not going through those same processes. So actually, when we look at other health conditions that, such as, like, an example I use quite a lot, or even asthma. So I use asthma quite a lot. So if someone has asthma, their lungs aren't functioning properly. So in a way to kind of help them get their lungs functioning better is to use an inhaler, for instance. And that kind of gets their lungs functioning better and they can breathe better again. So for me, that's how I see things like pharmaceutical interventions that are coming through, because there's some amazing things coming through, and also things like, you know, bariatric surgery for some people is a good thing, not for everyone. In order to change the physiological makeup of your body, you can't just do it by thinking differently, to some extent. I do think there needs to be some sort of other potential thing.
Do you think that the problem isn't about the physical transformation, though?
No, totally.
That it's more about the internal journey
Yes.
of knowing yourself. And
Yeah, because ultimately when I lost all that weight, everyone would have thought that I would have been ridiculously happy and felt amazing and all those kind of things. And I did feel amazing to some extent, as in I was obviously, things were easier, I was fitter, I was, you know, it was great to wear different clothes, etc. But there was still something in me that was like, I still didn't like me. So it's definitely not about the weight loss at all. There's more to it, you know, you need...
It's meeting yourself head on, first and foremost. You accept who you are. And you accept all the parts of you, right? What you've been through, your past, your current state, your reality. And then it feels as though what you suggested around pharmaceuticals is a good alternative. But this is just my opinion. I don't know that a person that hasn't laid that foundation will ever be happy.
No, totally.
Even if,
I agree.
You know?
I agree.
And I think that's the piece that a lot of people miss.
Yeah. I agree.
And I feel like that's where you're at. Maybe this could be a new beginning.
I want it to be, like, because it's what I want. It's not like I'm resisting it. It's just, I just feel like I just don't know how. Like, I know that sounds silly because yes, I could meditate and all these kind of things, but it's finding something that works and feels normal for me.
But when you say meditate, you say it with meditate and all these other things. I get it. And here's the thing, like, I get you're in sales, right?
Yeah.
Things move fast. You're a high performer. You want to see a direct impact. The little, gentle, subtle behaviors like meditation or, you know, a 5-minute beat, going for a 5-minute walk, never feels good enough.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's the case?
Yeah, yeah.
What if you allowed it to be good enough? This is my 5 minutes of freedom. I'm going to take some deep breaths. And all of a sudden it started to mean something.
Yeah. It's like there's like this block that just stops me from...
Allowing you to love yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's all well and good to find that starting point. Are you willing to show up on the days you don't want to show up? That is it. That is everything. Are you willing to show up on the days you don't want to show up? And if you are,
but I think
then you'll be
when
amazed.
you have a child, you can't have days that you don't show up. You have to show up every day. So, but what I mean is I need to then translate that, because there's days where I just feel exhausted and all the rest of it, but I still have to show up for Emily. I have to be there, and I have to be her mum, and I have to be the best version of me for her. But what I need to do is translate that into, and also for me.
You're not being the best version of you if you're not taking care of you.
Well, no. I know. And that's why it's the right time. Because when she starts, picking up on mummy not being happy, or, just little things, she will. Now, ultimately, our kids become who they are because of us and what we show them and the way we nurture them. So I want her to grow up not like me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, why not?
No, not like the way I feel about me.
Okay.
I want her to love who she is.
Then you have to love who you are.
I know.
Yeah. I'm going to do something really cheesy.
Okay.
Say I love myself.
Oh, don't do this to me again. But I don't. See, it just makes... But I really don't. Okay. I love myself.
Yeah.
You always make me cry.
It's been a long time since I've had conversations like this, and it's been a real gift.
Oh, and thank you, and I thank you for kind of our friendship, because that's meant a lot to me. That kind of we've stayed in touch, and you've checked in, and you've, you know, for me it's been you're so authentic, and I'm so grateful for that. So thank you.
I'm grateful to you too. Don't let that voice get in the way.
No.
Give me a hug. Really glad I ran into you at Regent's Park.
Me too.